That's a great way to. Welcome to the 86th weekly MLP live stream extravaganza. Yeah, we got a small horde of people this time. Going down alphabetically in the list. Horde. Oh, okay. We got Alley Claw. We got Hollow Nose. There's a Princess Fluffy's Eye. Who did the bad pun? and me, I guess. So, Binky, yes, throw art at us. You know, the same rules as always. I should probably get that text going again. Woo-is. Oh, it looks so cool. It's on the subreddit. Save in. They get to go first because they're first to throw art at us, technically, I guess. Yep. We play favoritism. Wait.
We have no shame, therefore we play the game.
Hey, now everyone can hear you.
What?
Whoops.
Did you have us muted?
Nope. I swear.
Are you sure?
Rude.
It wasn't muted on purpose. It was it had the wrong audio channel selected.
My
okay.
OBS is always doing that. It's so annoying.
Wait, so they only
I'm
heard
not mad at you.
Yep.
They were testing us.
Plus, I've done that so many times when doing my actual radio show. Like, we get through all the introductions and people talking, and then I get, we only hear you, Zai. It's like,
Sorry, everyone. We have people here. They said all hello. Say hello, everyone.
Hi again.
everyone.
There you go.
Hello again.
God, these new pop-up bubbles. Yeah, you gotta click on the new pop-up bubble to get rid of it. It has no
Otherwise,
X.
They just kind of stay around.
Yeah, it's so
yeah.
annoying.
You gotta pop them.
Whoops! I thought that one had an X, but it was the banner for the stream.
That's not a pop-up.
Yeah, it was because the pop-up was on top of it.
I feel like you guys need to update the banner for the stream now.
Why is that?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, how long has it been since Vital was here?
It's pretty
Four-
hard.
4 streams. Yes, 4 streams ago, I think. 5
Oh,
streams?
that's not too bad. All right.
Yeah.
So about a month.
Yeah. Since week before BCon. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 weeks.
Okay. Was it only that short ago?
Yeah, because first stream for me was last week, and I had skipped the one before that because I sounded like, well, like my voice box had just gone through a wood chipper, and the week before that was the weekend. That was the week of BronyCon.
I like how you keep track of time based on times we've done the stream.
Okay, I work nights, so my sense of day is like, whoop, straight out the window.
I'm unemployed. I'm just like, what is date?
I know what date it is. Half the time, I don't know what day it is.
That's why I always forget that it's Tuesday, and I have a reminder saying, "Hey, get to the crit stream." I'm like, I get to hang with my friends and draw.
Aw, we're friends!
Of course we are.
Yay.
Oh, I can't delete layer 3. I did a boo-boo on layer 3, and that now has
am
the
on
picture.
layer 3.
1 second. I'm just getting technical.
I don't even
you
see
put,
the boo-boo on layer 3. What is the boo-boo on layer 3?
He put an image on the wrong layer.
Yeah.
Ah, you messed up.
Oh, no!
We've all drawn on wrong layers before. Come on.
No,
If you say you haven't, you're lying.
I am perfect, Zai.
All right. We also have this week's Eggie before we start off here. This week's Eggie is flags. Oh my god, that's so adorable.
Flag.
Oh, wow.
I swear to God, did she do what I think she did?
Yes.
Damn it.
Maybe. I don't know. What did...
The cute pencil case, because I'm getting like seriously enamored with her art.
It's so amazing.
It should be. It's cute. And it's also made of pencil cases.
I'm like stealing her art stuff because it's so friggin' adorable.
Good call. All right, so we're gonna start off with Wubis. I'm just gonna start dropping vowels from their name. Wub.
It's eventually just gonna be a string of like consonants. Although there are only 3, so it shouldn't take too long.
All right, so let's do this. It is the Flutterbat versus the dog. What's the
it's a
word of the dog?
Timberwolf.
Thank you. I was trying to remember the names of them.
That looks like
You call
Timber
yourself a pony fan.
Man, I only have so much space in my head for ponies.
Oh my god. You must have a pony re-education tour. It's just a marathon.
All right, Willis,
So-
you got any questions before we start off on this one?
Oh, I heard a blip.
Are they in our chat? No, they're just
They
somewhere
were.
here. Well, they're
No,
in the
were
other chat. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes people hop into our voice chat and they're like, "How's it going, buddies?"
Or
They
that
sound
time,
exactly like that too.
time last week when someone came in and didn't realize what was going on, and we're like, we're streaming.
That happens.
Yeah. Or like, I
have
thought they
looked
said
at
that they were
myself,
the
and I
person.
feel bad about that.
It's because we were like critiquing the art as if it was theirs, not because we thought we thought they said they were the person. It's like, okay.
How to pronounce their name? Oh gosh, we get this. We're gonna get this. I should probably turn up the audio on it.
Okay, I am gonna have like serious issues controlling my scrolling here because like I use the scroll button. Well, I use the scroll for freaking zooming on every other drawing program except for Drawpile.
Videos.
I know what you mean.
Videos.
Oh.
I keep trying to listen to it, but the audio ducking keeps you guys manage to talk just when it gets on. All right.
Perfect.
Rip.
It's something I can't pronounce because it's a foreign dialect. There we go. It's. I'm gonna call you W now.
MLP is just much too Northern American for this nonsense.
Is it made of maple syrup? No, that's a problem. I have a question about the Flutterbat. Where's its other wing? Would you... You know what? I could almost see this wing being completely covered by its head.
Yeah, there could be like I think there should be like at least like a tiny bit poking out the other side of the head, and like some behind where the hair and the hooves. Like,
Yeah.
there could be
Just-
some of the wing there.
Just
Otherwise,
a
like
hint.
drawing it, I probably would have omitted it too, just because it looks like you have to really get some serious like drawing what's not there and like actually go through all like the anatomy and everything, trying to work out how it looks from that angle.
You
get it
mean-
in.
Back here, you would see a bit of it connecting on the back.
You mean...
Just because if we look at the wings, they're actually very far back. Like this is about at the center of the pony instead of close to the shoulder where wings would, you know, normally come off.
Truth be told, I would move the wing forward a little bit because I feel like it's kind of hindering on the flanks there.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. It looks like, it does definitely look like it's coming from the butt.
Yeah.
It
It's
is
a cutie mark wing. Like one of the butterflies, or it would be bats, I guess, for Flutterbat.
Yeah.
Like the wing actually became like a real wing, and that's how she's flying.
The cutie mark became real.
Yeah.
Okay, so my thing is with Apple, I mean whatever
Timberjack.
her face is, Timberjack, the face with the pony on it. So like with the orientation of her head, the cheek, it wouldn't be okay. Why is my pen not writing? Oh, because it's an eraser. Um, so it wouldn't be like the mouth wouldn't have like this gigantic opening, because otherwise the other side of her face would have like a giant opening. And yeah.
Whoa.
No one heard anything. Definitely not me dropping a phone.
What was that? Okay, I didn't hear a sound.
We
What are you
don't make
talking
mistakes.
about?
One other thing is that if they're like, I'm assuming that they're getting uh ready to like fight, I feel like she's standing like too stoically for that. Like I kind of want to see like her crouching down, getting ready, and just being like, yeah, and being like kind of like almost challenging,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Like ready
like,
to pounce.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, like definitely make sure to just put as much life into your pose as you can. Something that I find helps when you're trying to sort of work out like how a character's going to be posing, and like you've gone through and you've kind of drawn like your rough sketch or whatever. Do it again, and just like don't look at the original one for reference. Just take the idea and think, how can I push this and exaggerate this even more, and just really bend those body shapes, and that often leads you to much better results than you had before on the first time. Plus it gets you used to like it sounds really annoying, like, "Oh, I don't have to sketch things twice," like, come on, and I get that, but like it really does, like, it trains you to sort of be more flexible with your drawing and not to like find everything super hard, because you get more used to actually drawing it quickly and flexibly.
Beyond that, I got nothing to say about this. Allie?
The one thing to help really push your art, Fluttershy has no shadow. Flutterbat, she is obviously right in front of this really bright source, and while she'll have this lovely glow around her, she'll also have this shadow casting down below her. So to make it even more epic and help with the, oh man, no, words are failing me.
Mm.
Composition. Thank you. Okay,
Mm.
thanked myself.
No problem.
The really help the composition, especially
Yeah.
directional wise, just kind of like
Cause,
lead your eye to
mm.
Applejack and just that whole full
And
loop
that's
loop
that'd be really
around.
cool, because you could do like a big, huge, sweeping shadow, and it just like really push that like bat shape, just to sort of like it would look really like ominous, but it really draw your eye, like Ali said. That would work pretty well.
Make it like I mean, like I said, she's standing in front of this super bright object. She's gonna cast, and
Mm.
she's gonna
You
be
could also
all
push the
intimidating.
darks. You could also push the darks and Flutterbat a little bit as well. Maybe less so on the wing, because I imagine that being like semi-translucent, but like at least having like a slight bit of translucency to it. But like the rest of her, like you could push the shadows a bit, just to sort of show that she's being silhouetted.
I agree.
Woo.
Yay.
Do you have any comments for us, boys? Anything you didn't understand from what you're talking about, or any of those fun things?
Ooh.
Otherwise, I think we can move on.
Give him a moment to see. Do 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 do.
Here would be where that 30-second stream delay song comes in handy.
There's some cute ponies on the flags.
There
Spoilers.
are.
right, we got nothing, so we're going on. If you have any questions, feel free to toss them at us, and we'll pick them up as we go. Same as art. Toss art at us. So the next one is the one directly beside that, and it is by our friend Binky. Binky11. You have any questions, Binky?
I feel like the stream is like on a pretty decent lag. At least it is for me.
It usually is, yeah.
So like we have to wait like 2 or 3 minutes just for them to like actually hear us to see if they.
Yeah,
have any
Picato
questions.
has a big like delay, which I think is supposed to be like so that if your stream goes down, it like captures it or whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not that great of a lag. I don't know. Sometimes it's just like
Sometimes it's slow.
I know we have people that have internet issue connections when watching the stream, so that's never helpful.
Mm.
So we can just like cut out when they.
Yeah, and they like disappear. It's like, oh no.
Oh no.
I'll remember you.
Okay, no, I'm not doing that.
Flagged. On theme with Yagi.
Okay, so it looks like Binky is just looking for help with background, I'm assuming, or at least that's what they're worried about mostly.
All right. So let's talk about the background then. That's pretty easy. Yeah. I do have a question though. What is she holding in her teeth?
Paper bag.
Oh, okay.
So so really quick is, where did my pen go? Okay, so one of the big things is that you've got this like really detailed tree right in the middle, right in the back of it, and it feels like it's pulling a lot of the attention to the tree rather than her. Just to me at least, because you've got all these like little details and like just like all these like little knots and everything, and the tree is really interesting, but then it pulls your attention away from her. At least to me. I don't know. You see, I haven't really worked with backgrounds too often, so I feel like you don't want to make it more interesting than your foreground, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that is a valid point. Like sometimes you got to have like the two halves of the picture in balance, you know.
So, I think something that is just as important. Like I know you're working on background, but part of the background is also the foreground, and we have nothing going on in the foreground. You may have like a little flower here, but think of it like you need some sort of balance, right? So you have all this stuff going on in your background, but practically, you have these little itty bitty objects. There's nothing really breaching the front. Like you even have bushes, taking up areas in
Yeah,
the front
you see,
there, or
it really helps to add to the perspective because you have like these big buildings in the background, but they're tiny. And as we sort of talked about in the stream before, your eye sees that and it's like, okay, that's really far away. Then having something like a bush that's really big in the foreground, of course, that really puts that perspective there.
So my thing is that if you actually put stuff in the foreground, it'll frame the shot really well. And you can actually see that happening in a lot of people's art. Like, I know that some people like Bob Dude Zero do that really well. They actually have like a lot of foreground stuff that's like out of focus almost, that pulls your eye in towards the middle of the shot.
It can work really well. but it's sort of having both the foreground and the background really does sort of draw your attention towards the characters in the midground, which is what you want to be doing.
And one other thing that I'll also point out is so the way we're looking at it, the character interacting with the background, the foreground, this area that I've circled in pink, the big circle, it looks like we're looking down on it, while everything else we're getting the, the side view of. So this path is it's such a huge path. Like, you could either move the pony closer to the center to not make it feel so empty and large, or cut down that path and be, little hills, in front of the path that the pony is going to walk in front of.
Very good point.
But right now the path feels so big. The path is almost the same size as your background. So that's something just to be careful of, keep an eye out on, for future background work. A lot of it is playing with, how the character sits in the environment, the foreground, the midground, and the background. All these things are something to think about when it comes to the background itself. But I like that you have a tree here, because that does help, like we spoke to earlier, having, objects in different parts of your, foreground, background, midground. So you have a tree in the midground here, and you have trees in the background. So it's like, yeah, the background's far away, we get it, the trees are smaller. So that's a nice thing to have. That's a really nice, measurement, because that's something that really helps with composition in art, is kind of having things people can compare as they look at something to really give that give that feeling of depth. That's what I want to say.
One thing that I will say, your line work needs a little bit of work. It looks like you did this traditionally.
Yep.
So I see the pen work, and so like what draws my eye is this cloud right here, whoop, and it's kind of fluffy, and in a weird, like, scratchy way almost. So what you really need to be working on with line work is kind of just like flowing with it, as opposed to doing these like small little like lines like this. You gotta kind of just do one big line.
Swoosh. Big swooshes.
Swoosh.
That's what we always say.
I keep hitting my macro on accident. Instead of like having the little small lines, the big line will like allow you to smooth everything out, and it'll look really nice, as opposed to like these tiny little whoop 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 whoop, because that gives a sense of hesitation, and it also makes it look like everything's like kind of scruffy almost. So you can do it if you're like looking to make it look like your character, or like maybe like a tree is like kind of like but in regular, like especially in clouds, you don't really want that.
So while we're playing with this, I would like to quickly just talk about framing the image a bit. What framing is basically trying to draw attention towards the subject in your picture. So what I've done is I've actually, in this case, I would remove the tree you have behind the pony and move it towards either side of them. I think moving it behind them would be best, and then placing something in the foreground in front of them, which would easily be another tree. They're running through an apple field. Why not a bunch of trees? So what this has done is it's actually surrounded the subject with a border of a natural border, a border that's framed or that's built by the subjects in the picture, in this case your trees, and that has helped draw our attention to it. If you want to see really cool examples of how this is done with building up layers in an image to actually get to that point, go watch any Bob Ross video. You will always see in his images, he'll have something to the left and something to the right of the main subject. The main subject is almost always centered on his. Very, very seldom will he try and center it left or right. The reason for this is framing. Framing, it's hard to really sink your teeth in and get good at doing it, but if you if you watch enough things like Bob Ross, it should start clicking when you start understanding why he's doing it. So that would be my homework for you. Go watch Bob Ross and go digitally draw what he's doing or traditionally draw what he's doing just to try and understand why he's doing it.
You're gonna feel so calm when you watch him.
Oh, he's so great.
All the happy little everythings.
And just as a final point, if you're to go look at a lot of very good artists,
Like not us, but like professional.
like yeah, go look at some MLP art that you consider very good, like technically
good.
Christopher.
yeah, view, you know, that type of person. You'll see that there is actually a lot of a lot of framing elements that they build in that are just part of the environment. And it's really cool when you start picking apart the images to do it. Yeah.
I will say that Bob Dude Zero does this really well. I have watched him work on an image, and he actually like puts a lot of thought into framing images like that. Take a look at his I think it was his Celestial Breakfast and the Cutie Mark Crusaders. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like them walking across a fallen tree over like a creek or something. Those two do it really well because he has like this, like he has stuff that actually makes your eye go straight toward the actual like subject.
Yeah, I definitely all the artists you can find that you really feel like their environments draw you. They really like draw you in, but you keep focus on the center of attention, which is like the pony or something like Shimingle. They do a lot of beautiful landscapes, but also have ponies in them, and the pony works in harmony with the landscape. I hope I'm saying their name right, but yeah, no, just it's gonna be one of those things. It's gonna take a while, but references, looking at other artists, all these things that everyone here is saying,
Yes.
it's gonna help in the long run.
Photography abuses the living crap out of framing.
Yes, the
Mhm,
rule of
yes.
thirds.
The
Look up
rule of thirds is a good thing to follow, especially in our art.
It's like ground zero level of composition, but it's like a really important fundamental.
What a lot of people, I think, like they tend to forget that fundamentals are exactly that. They're fundamental, and so, like, especially when you continue on with a lot of what you do, you have to keep them in mind, because even if you don't, then you have like these beautiful like images, but you're losing a lot of it because you don't have the right framing.
Mm.
All right, let's move on to the next picture then. I'd just like to remind everyone that the Eggy is still going on. This week's theme is flags. Go flag yourself.
And if you have any more questions, Binky, or you didn't understand anything we said, please feel free to, like, poke us. There are things at our faces. That's, what we do around here.
We receive things to the face.
Directly.
Yes. Sometimes it hurts, but don't hold back.
It's for the art. So, and who's next?
Let's go top left corner. Or, I guess just the top.
The top.
I didn't bother resizing that one. There wasn't much art to start. All right.
Can't wait to see more art.
So this picture is by Mr. Halo 755. You might remember them from such places as last week's art. They submitted that pony lying on the bench that had the really nice body. Yeah, that one. Anywho, this is their next picture submitted by them. This is my first time drawing two ponies in very close proximity. How did I do alongside anything else? Yeah, and that's all they have to say. So how did you do? Did well. Your ponies are alongside of each other.
They're interacting, and they feel like okay that they're interacting, which is really awesome because that's sometimes really hard to do.
Yeah.
This one is super duper cute.
This picture does expose something that I want to break you of right now before you go any further. This picture is really small. We can see the paper grain. The paper grain is huge. The picture is very small. Draw bigger. You have a big sheet of paper. Use that sheet. It might feel awkward to do it, but all these like little nitpicky parts like this nose here and these curves here, so much easier to form on a big object.
Definitely, you get a lot more room for control. And the other thing that happens is since you have a big canvas, what you might find is what I see from a lot of people, particularly those just starting out, when they draw really big on a piece of paper, they fall into a habit of under exaggerating things. Like when they have like spikes in their hair, they'll be like really, really small. Because your brain says, hey, I'm drawing this nice big triangle spike for the hair, and then another one, and another one. But what's actually happening is they're really small. You know, just stuff like that ends up being underwhelmed. So it really teaches you to push exaggeration, and that really helps you to get a feel of your art down.
I was gonna bring something up, but it looks like Allie's about to do it, so I'm gonna let her do that one. My thing then is gonna be the hair. It's so like with the stallion, I think isn't that Big Mac's or
Right, Mac?
yeah, whatever.
I think it looked like Bright Mac and Pear Butter, but I may be wrong.
It looks like that to me, so I'm just gonna go with that one. So like a lot of people do this when they first start out, and they clump the hair instead of just like having it flow. What a lot of people forget is that like with the show, they kind of do clump the hair a bit just because it's animation, and they're gonna have to cut a lot of corners. With drawing though, you want to kind of have it flow more instead of like just having this like clump, especially with the top part of the mane right here. It's very modular almost, and it doesn't overlap at all there. And so instead of having that kind of thing, have it kind of like push itself inward into the actual main part of the hair. Have like pieces that are on top of others, because a lot of this time you'll see like shapes of hair as opposed to actual hair. And you actually did it really well with Pear Mom. I don't know what her name is. Pear Butter. And like she has like hair interacting with itself, which looks really nice. It's just with like Apple Dad, his name I'm not gonna remember these for a little while.
I don't even know if it is them. Anyway,
I don't know. I'm gonna call them Apple Dad and Pear Mom for right now because yeah. So like have his hair actually interacting with itself, because right now it looks kind of like he just like shaped out his hair.
Try and think about it in the space of like hair that's forming sort of rivers and clumps together, rather than like a plushie where it's all just like one big shape. You know, so try and imagine it being a plushie and then try and move away from that. Essentially, I think, how would it look if I sort of added more detail to this? I was doing this just yesterday actually when I was drawing a picture, and I was like, okay, I want to like add as much detail to this hair as possible, and it's all about like sort of breaking down, like, sure, draw the basic clumps first, but draw those light or then like partially erase them, and then you want to like break those down and add more detail to them, and that's always a nice like shortcut to try and getting that in, because at least then you've got it in like the space that you want it to be in, but it helps you sort of define where it's going to be and then add that detail.
So I'll quick speak to proportions. So what I see here is a very, very thin neck, especially with the head being pushed back so far. We lose all of her neck, and she kind of, it's pushing far, like really far back, past what a bone structure for, you know, a horse or a four-legged animal or something could really do. Because if you think the spinal cord runs through the back, and then it has to make this like crunchy, really sharp angle to follow through. Now it can bend and move, but this is just really, really on top of itself, so it feels a little bit crushed together. Same with the stallion here, just a lot of sharp angles for connection. And I understand doing the how you want them to face, and that kind of like pulling your head back and looking down, kind of very somber look. Um, you can still do that, but the bodies are going to need to move and adjust a bit. Like we have the butt here is so very, very high compared to the chest, and there is like a difference. Usually, like when we talk about proportions, the head circle over here and the butt circle, they're bigger than the chest circle. It's just slightly bigger, not a huge difference, but there is a difference. And here it's kind of like we lost that size to height, and it feels again more squished, like we're kind of folding this pony at an angle, kind of like this angle. So I would just, that's something to be aware of. I hope you got all the references in the world out there, so please use them. So many good pony proportion guides, especially since you're keeping to more show style. Just really give them a look, and try some things, and try a lot of sketching. Just don't do like one picture to study. Do like so many sketches, sketch, be messy, figure things out, really get a feeling for those proportions and that structure underneath a pony, how it can bend and move, and like what's breaking it, what's not breaking it. Don't be afraid to push too far. Play around and figure out this anatomy. It's gonna take a while, I'm not gonna lie. It takes everyone a while. Anatomy is hard, especially with so many animals out there, and
I mean,
humans.
you never really learn everything, but that's the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just keep it up.
You can figure it out. Yeah, you can figure it out. Just keep it up. Keep drawing. But just be careful. Be careful of your proportions and how things bend. Because right now, like I said, it feels very crunched together, their pose. So it feels very uncomfortable, even though they're like being very cute and together. And also, very, very high butts. I mean, I guess ponies do have high butts and they have that big curve, but I don't know. I like to think of the bean. The bean holds the answers.
Magical bean.
Magical bean. Anyone else have anything?
Nope. That's what I got. Shall we move on to the next one?
Sounds good.
All right, we're gonna paste it in.
My pen finally died, so my progress in the Aggie has been halted until I can figure out where I put my cable. And my progress towards like being able to draw on this stream, of course. No. Why would fate do this?
So I see someone is doodling stuff in the bottom of it.
Well, it's not me now.
I wish I can no longer see who's connected to the session. That's not an option in... Oh wait, event log?
I know who's connected to the session.
I see a Q pencil case.
I see Living Dead, me, Zai, Allie, and Q pencil case.
Alright, so at the very bottom... Jeez, I hope I just put that in the right layer. I did. At the very bottom, we have oaken shields.
Oh my god, you caught me actually sketching in the bottom. Sorry.
So this picture is the background was all done in Minecraft. They added a little blur and drew in the horse.
So, the first thing I'll say, because of Minecraft and what it is, you have these perfect little grids you can follow to draw your pony on. Take advantage of these grids, because right now Fluttershy does not feel like she's quite on the ground. Would you guys agree? If she feels...
There is a second one under her.
Yeah, no, I know. I see it over here, but
yeah.
She still feels like she's leaning this way, but the ground's this way, so there's something off.
I agree to that.
The ground's going this way, and she's, in a box going that way. So it's... something feels off, perspective-wise. Boxes. So that's
Foxes are
my.
your friends.
They are your best friend. So that's the first thing that pokes out to me with having her sit on the environment. So what I suggest to help with that, utilize these grids, these little cubes you got, and I would really look into some perspective guides, really see like, because there's some people that have done guides where like drawing a pony in perspective and how to use a box. I'm gonna see if I can find that and post it. Wait, no, they're in the chat. So I'm gonna find that, and if anyone wants to speak
I once spoke.
once.
Okay, this is like tiny, so I can't really do what I want with this picture, but I'm gonna try and like play with it a little bit. Okay, so I am like a very big stickler for, and I will be talking about it a lot, unfortunately, because again, yeah. So with this, she's in a high wind because you've got her hair, like her mane is like flying out and her tail is flying out, and so with that you're gonna want a lot of like areas just like flying off by themselves, because while hair is clumped usually, like if it's just on your head and yeah it's chilling there, it's gonna be pretty like stable and clumped up and everything. But in wind, it's gonna be like whoosh, and like having like several like either several clumps or a lot of little strands. And I can't do it in this program because I dislike it. But it's going to be flying out a lot. And so you have this nice like shape of it, but just pull more of it out and have it more like clear that it's actually whipping her hair around. And you did it really well with the mane, which is kind of funny to me. So like you've got the like nice areas that it like all clumps up and like it's kind of whipping around here and everything. And so just try that with the tail a little bit more, because right now it just feels like just one massive object. That's my thing. I'm done.
I do really love your shading. It's gorgeous.
Yes, the shading is pretty.
And you've done the shading on your hair right. You didn't take a brush that is just bristles and go, ha 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 ha, spaghetti, and make hair. You took your brush individually and made the strokes on it. It looks great. What would I change? I think you guys have covered it all. Her wings do look really stiff, though. Like, if I'm gonna get nitpicky, they're stiff. They're like straight out.
I was kind of looking at that. I would work with the center joint in it a little bit. Maybe have like a little bit more of a fold, because right now she looks kind of like a plane.
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, Saya's back.
Hi. I still cannot find my
do you have anything to say about the picture?
just you're just talking about the wings. I don't know how in depth you've gone with it, but they look almost like that the wrong angle to me. I don't know if that's just my eye being weird, but just like I'm trying to look at like the plane of, because we only have like a tiny bit of the back hooves and then like a tiny bit of the front legs, so I can't really see. But yeah, and Hollow's on it there. Almost looks like they sort of need to be rotated a little bit.
Something like that. Yeah, I was kind of looking at that a little bit.
It's the one at the back. It looks like it's tilted too far forward. But I agree with whoever said they were like really stiff. And yeah, otherwise just like I think the tail comes like a bit too close in proportion. And I don't know. There's some things that are just really hard to tell without being able to see where the legs are. It almost looks like she's leaning forward, like into the block, or just at least leaning forward. But I can't tell because the legs aren't really visible, so I might just be seeing things. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm just a crazy guy who can't charge his tablet pen.
Oh my
Ali, throw your cable across the world to me.
All right. Do you have any further questions, Oakenshield?
Somebody's a LOTR fan.
Lord of the Rings? Oh.
Yeah, Oakenshield.
I didn't get the reference. I didn't watch it.
Thor and Oakenshield from The
Oh,
Hobbit.
okay. I have seen that movie.
The book is so much better, but okay.
I don't
Sorry.
really. I've read like one book in my life. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm an extremely slow reader. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get into it more.
You
so I
gotta
can
practice.
Yeah, I'm practicing. Like much like you have to do for drawing.
Exactly.
See, I brought it back around.
Damn straight. My hip hops. So it looks like we're all done with this one because he says
She
he's
is supposed to be leaning
all
forward a bit. Okay.
So I totally agree. That
Cool.
she's supposed to be leaning forward, but there's a difference between leaning forward and sinking past perspective-wise. If
She looks like she's leaning very far forward. Like I can see like the direction of the legs. That like her hooves would be quite close to her back hooves, and she'd be like leaning right forward. It's fine, but like her center of gravity is too far back, and she would basically be like about to plummet straight off of that edge.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how she does with heights.
I think a lot of this would be solved with showing the body. I know you want this long, flowy tail
Yeah.
of like breeziness, but a lot of the issues we're seeing is because we cannot see the body, so we
Yeah.
have to
It's
put
weird.
it together in our
Sometimes
mind.
just because basically, if you do it well, then and you really like show things in the right way, then your mind can put things together in the right way. But even like drawing what you can't see and like making sure it's all right, sometimes things still get put together in your mind wrong when they're covered up. It creates optical illusions sometimes, and there's no way to really predict it. Sometimes it just happens, and you got to say, okay, it looks like this leg's going at the weird angle. I know it's not, but it kind of looks like it when it's covered up, you know. Just sometimes you got to be able to spot it and like, figure out how to work around it. But sometimes just being able to show things in general can be the perfect compromise. And I think, however you want to do it, you might not want to with this picture because it'd be a lot of reworking. But for future reference, making the tail look a bit smaller so you can see more of the legs might work really well.
Mm-hmm. Because just by going, oh, that color is not a good one on Fluttershy. So just by looking at the legs, she either she's like plummeting through the dirt in order to be the same length as her back legs. So, and there's no visible bend to like make it seem like she's bending over to look.
Because the neck's not bent forward. It's like she's very much in standing position, which is why I think the weight's being pushed very frontwardsly, rather than like bending down to sort of spread out that weight.
Like if I were to guess the box in which she's standing in, it'd be this one, but at least the one that you want, and then the one she's actually standing in is somewhere more along the lines of this kind of a box, yet we still have a box going like this, so it doesn't mesh all too well with how she's standing up here. If I drew a box on her body. Boom, boom, boom. Things are clashing. She doesn't feel like she's, planted on the ground. She feels like she's sinking through the front because her legs are either that or her legs are a lot shorter in the front.
All right. I think we should move on then.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Heidi ho!
Either way, good luck in the future.
Yes.
We're gonna.
Yes,
Oh my gosh!
keep
It's a.
going.
Someone fluffed it. It's been fluffed. Allie, go look at the top picture.
Sneaky pencil case.
Thank you, pencil case.
Oh my god, that's adorable. Oh my god.
It's like a fluffy llama.
I know, it's so cute.
What's on her head? Is it a sweetie belle on her head?
No,
That's
it's
It's a rare Tato.
Rare Tato.
It's a Raritado.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for clarification, cute pencil case.
Rare Tato. All hail the rare Tato.
all right. So the next picture is by Drawing Lightning, and it's actually their first submission to us. Congrats!
Oh, welcome.
Hooray! Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
And they have asked, can you give some tips for improving the quality of my drawings, please? Well, I think you've come to the right place, hopefully. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. We fake it a lot. So let's talk about improving your drawing a bit.
First thing I'm gonna say is I really like the wings in this.
I like the construction, but not the angle.
Yeah. Like the feathers look really good to me. The angle is a little bit weird.
So how would you fix the angle? That's my question to you guys.
I'm sorry, somebody messaged me and I was busy typing back.
How dare you be distracted by things that are not of our attention? Words.
Exactly what he said.
Totally.
I'll get to it in a sec. Oh, no, I knocked over some ponies. How could I?
Oh no.
I'm a disgrace. See, where are we? I got lost on the canvas.
Okay, so oh my gosh,
Oh,
people
this-
keep messaging me. So I'm actually terrible with wings. I kind of don't want to mess with those. too
Ali's
much.
our best wing person here.
Allie,
Nice. That title goes to Vital.
Well,
Allie.
it really does. Yeah.
Is she here?
No.
No.
Then you're still the best one we have in the current party.
thick Allie upon the wings.
Plus, I love your wings, honestly. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think, firstly, I will say, I definitely love the motion that's there in the wings. You've got so much flowing, different shapes that are leading the eye in different directions. It's really cool. You can definitely see these wings are not stiff. You can see that they're flexible and that they're swooshing in the wind. So I like that. I think the only issue is like the posing, which Hollow Note seems to be on.
I'm
personally-
trying. I am
Yeah.
terrible at construction, and so like I'm just
I-
I'll let
When
yeah.
in doubt, when in
I
doubt, pull up a
do think-
reference.
yeah.
I do think that one's a little bit too far back. Like it's stretched over the body by the looks of it. Like it looks like it's bending over where the body is, and like completely like over the top, over the 180 angle. I don't think it should even go up that high, to be honest. So it's just like sort of thinking about a 3D perspective, which can be hard, but like think about like where the body is falling and where the wing's going. I get it; it's supposed to just sort of be stretched back, but it looks like it should be sort of a bit lower. I don't think there's any problem with like how you construct the wings, because I can see on the front wing you've got this really nice like shape here where it folds over, so that I think you've done pretty well. I can see you've definitely like you might have looked at references, I'm not sure, but like you've definitely, this isn't your first time drawing wings, I can tell, basically. But I don't know, it's just I feel like that back wing's a bit too far back. I'm not sure how much forward I would draw it, to be honest. Oh yeah, maybe like this, maybe this sort of distance. Match it up with the other wing, because you want to make like a nice sort of like cone, a V shape with the wings. You know, you've got like one wing here, and another wing. Swoosh. This is like a front angle view, and it is terrible. Excuse me, but you know, think about like where they're sitting. You know, when they're gliding like this, it's going to be either like straight out. They look like they're sort of falling a little bit, which will kind of make sense given like the pose, the slash, and everything. But yeah, you've got the right idea. Just to work on tightening things up. The pose, though, the pose of the body, however, I feel is a bit stiff. It looks like they're kind of just like floating there and letting their wings do all the movement. But you've got like I can see like they've gone sloosh and then whoo over here. Like that's really good, but like you want to really carry that through with the body. Make it sort of like the sort of like holding the herb and then like the sword's like, ooh, I just did this cool slash and like, yeah. I don't know, but
All technical terms.
Yep.
yeah.
Very technical.
Try and like I would maybe move the leg this way and have the sword sort of like held out, or maybe move it sort of like across up past the face, like, oh yeah, I just slashed, and like really like push the direction of your posing here to like sort of really I'm not sure it's something like I don't know for sure this pose I'm doing works, but like it's just like about playing around saying how can I move these legs in different directions that like makes sense and has motion, and really like just imagine over and over again the scene that you're drawing. Like I imagine you probably sort of had this in your head, like imagining it animated. Do that like over and over again. Just have them like slash forward and think, okay, how's their body moving? Then maybe put yourself in their perspective and think how you would move if you were doing it, and that sort of gives you a good idea of like, okay, my brain says this would be the most comfortable position. Oftentimes just like feeling it out like that can give you the perspective you need, and then you can carry that through into the pose.
All right, so I've done just 2 minor edits here. The curve on the neck, don't go with the sharp inward angle here. Wow, that brush is big. Don't go with the angle inward there. Tilt it out towards the base of the head so it's smooth. Because even your head is smooth. Even doesn't matter what angle you go on, it's still going to be smooth curve. So avoid that sharp curve. And they're totally missing the rest of the gear. Like you have his shirt, you have, or the jacket, you have the swords. But what about the I forget what the heck they call their gear. But the sword holder with the CO2 tanks on it so they can jump around. Get its Pegasi. But if the blades are going to be eaten by the acid of the blood, they got to have those more blades. It's one of the big features of it.
Yeah, I think like I feel like it was always like the most distinctive. Like, oh, that's an Attack on Titan cosplay. I've never seen the show, but I recognize the things at the side of them where hold all the swords and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an iconic part, so you really don't want to like miss that out.
And with the sort of acid, steamy stuff coming off the blades, I see what you're going for here, but it doesn't fade out quick enough. It just sort of stays as a solid blob and then instantly disappears. If they've came all the way from here and moved over here in that time, either we'd see a trail moving if it's going to remain solid, sort of like a contrail behind a jet, or if your goal is to just make it fade really, really quickly, you got to make that stuff fade out quicker on the what's coming off the blade. So if this is hopefully on a different layer, all you have to do is take a really large eraser and make it
really
very, very soft towards the edges, and you're just going to tap around it to just sort of soften up the edges of that so it fades towards your blade. That's the easy way of pulling that one off. But yeah, it's really cool. I want to see more art from you. I want to see more dynamic posing. Yeah. Anyone else? Bueller? Bueller? All right, then we're moving on to the next one.
This is the one that I've been down and dreading because I like it.
Well, you can like it, but you can still critique it. All right. So, Corin. This is Corin CZ 11. Yes. I think it's 11. CZ 11. Yes. Long-time poster. They post every week. I have a request from you, Corin. For your next picture, or not a request, I have a demand of you. That's how we're going to put this.
We're getting real.
We see a lot of art from you, and we love that we see a lot of art from you. But we're seeing a lot of art from you without a lot of critique coming from you. So for your next picture, I want to see a piece of critique left for every picture you post. Now, I know this might seem unfair that we're asking you to do this without asking anyone else in particular to do it, but you have actually been posting to our sub 2 to 3 times a week for the last few months. I have 69 karma for you right now. That's a lot of posts you've made. Now, I know you have critiqued in the meantime, but I'd like to see more critique. Because half of your learning journey can't just be creating. You gotta be fully examining other people's works to better figure out the issues in your work. This is the magic of critique. By going through other people's problems, you can work through your own.
Absolutely. It trains your analytical eye, and that's a very useful tool.
So I want to see the critique done for the next post. So just find a post, even if it's even if everything's been critiqued on the sub, grab the latest post or whatever one catches your eye and critique it. And give them a good critique.
Yes.
If we see that,
just do like a 2-sentence critique. Give us like a nice paragraph. Really, what we do in text form. Really help that person.
Yeah.
It's gonna help you more than you know.
And it'll make you feel nice, and it'll make them feel nice.
oh, now we have to actually do a good job, Allie. Oh no. All right, so let's critique this thing then. First of all, cool. This is really new for what we've seen from you. We love seeing people experiment and try new things, and this is definitely ticks off those boxes. This is more of your tribal style art that we have seen a bunch of pieces of, which is really nifty. Keep doing that. It's nifty. I have questions about your hair construction, or concerns, not questions, because you can't answer anything right now. Concerns about your hair construction style. So, your hair is built up much like I would build up a clay structure's hair, where I'm just putting on pieces and continuously overlapping chunks that have attached. The problem with that is it looks like it's a clay structure that we've built instead of hair. All these bodies that are very solid from each other and split off, this guy, this guy, this guy. You have a bunch of these bodies that are just very solidly split from each other. Hair doesn't do that unless if you're adding a heck of a lot of grease and pulling it apart and doing like some weird work. That's not going to happen normally to hair. Your hair loves to bunch up. Yes, parts go fraying in different locations, but it loves to be a sort of body and move together. Even if you have horrible bad head. So, how can we solve this? Well, actually, this is pretty easy on this one to solve. And you can even do it to this one. Just take your eraser into some of these solid lines in the inside and break up the bodies. So we have some sort of flow and some air, some movement inside, a few bits and bobbles sticking off. Don't make that an entire body of it. Just take off the top area up here. We're going to, go, we don't want this line. We don't want this line. We're going to take off some body here. We're going to take off this line here. This guy over here. We're just going to knock down some of those lines. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring it back to a single body of hair, while still leaving a lot of, your, hey, this is wild hair, bits go everywhere sort of look. It's going to improve it. Trust us. It's only going to take you a few moments because all you have to do is pick this color. Actually, I think I can do it right here. Where's my color picker? Is it shift? Is it control? It's control.
I think it's control.
Yeah, control.
So we're going to go in and we're going to blocks out. We're going to knock that out. We're going to take this over here, say. I don't like this one over here.
That's feeling better already.
And what that gives us, as I was saying over and over and over, that body. That wonderful body. You can totally leave this area up here, that little bit sticking under. Little bits like that, fine. Perfectly good. Right. Their shading's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that it is cell shading and it looks interesting.
Yeah, that's like the first thing I noticed about it. It's really cool.
But brushwork shell shading.
Really quick, I wanted to jump back to the hair before we did a tangent. Sorry to interrupt people.
No, it's fine.
So my big thing about the hair, now that we got the clumps taken care of, is the hair doesn't feel like it's coming out of the head. It's coming from like on top. It's like sitting like a hat, or it's coming out of the skull. Because right now we got these strands. Let me get red. Nice red. That's not a red. Why did you get there? We got these strands coming from the skull. Like it's not, you know, the head's back here, you know? The hair would come out this way, and there'd be bumps to show that hair. So I would really, really look at seeing how hair comes out of the head rather than sitting on top of the head. Because right now I have no clue where this hair is coming from, because like I said, right now it feels like it's just feeding from the skull. And even if we do have it attached to the head, there would be some sort of like curve, or, you know, hair's coming out of that back of that head there. So there'd be a slight different movement and connection instead of being just flat up here. So it's just something to really think about and look at, and also to consider how it's attaching the front hair here. It's really important to keep in mind this, because I know some people forget that all the time, and it's just kind of like, yeah, the hair looks nice, it's coming out from underneath a hat, it's fine. But then it kind of looks like the hair is part of that hat, like you're just putting on the hat and the hair at the same time. So just something to just be careful of. You know, you don't want to be wearing the hair like a hat, you want the hair coming out of the head. There, did my little tangent.
One thing that I have an issue with is the ear, and whoever was making that purple line, I feel like they were going towards that. But right now the ear doesn't feel like it's on the right location. It feels kind of like it's coming up towards the front of the head a little bit. So you have like this tiny little area between the eye and the ear, and it feels like the ear should be a little bit further back.
Quick question: can we rotate the canvas on the draw file?
Yeah, you can. It's the little slider to the left of the other slider.
I could not be more lost. Oh my god. Oh wait.
Sorry.
On the bottom.
On the bottom, yes.
No keyboard shortcut. That bites.
No, not as far as I know. Cause draw file.
Anyway, continue.
That was pretty much it. The ear is a little bit like thin for my liking, but really that's more of a style choice in my opinion. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It just looks a little bit forward on the head. I'm done.
I got nothing else to say on this one. It's really... Yep, that's about it.
Well, maybe one thing is with the skull hat, I would have a little bit of hair poking out from underneath it, like towards her face, because like with AJ's hair, it's actually a little bit floofy on top, so you might want to have where's my thing? So you might want to have like a little bit of like whoop down here, maybe like a couple of strands coming out. Just to have like it, like so show that it's actually kind of pushing her hair down a little bit. Okay, now I'm done.
Yeah.
All right.
Got nothing else.
So then that's it for critique. Anyone else have any art they'd like to have critiqued? Going once. I got a ping. What's my ping from? Bookfort. Okay. It's Wandering Dragon yelling at me.
Oh. Oh, there he. Yeah, like I said, I had something, but I wanted to like continue working it myself. It was just like a first draft. So. Nothing.
All right then. If any, because no one else has any art being tossed at us, we're gonna call this a day. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be here next week. These only go for about an hour, so you really have a limited time. But if you hop to the subreddit, you can toss art at us on the sub. Bow to your waifu. They broke us.
What?
Oh no, that's a 404.
The link is bad.
No,
Your leg is.
What happened?
It's done broken.
We got another pick. In the meantime, I'd like to remind you all that there's still an Aggie going on. Look at this wonderful thing. We got like ponies and ponies doing pony things, and Oh gosh, it sounds yay. Oh, the Raretato army.
Oh my god, it's growing. No,
All
all of
hail
it,
the Raretato. All
all of our
hail.
favorite characters are being turned into Raretatoes.
All hail the Raretato.
I feel like I want to find a cure.
The only cure is a potato masher.
Oh no, no, don't kill them. That's
Make
horrible.
mashed rare potatoes.
They don't want to be killed.
If you have a picture, please submit it to us, as it says scrolling across the top of the screen for the last hour.
Wow, snarky.
I am snarky. People read. Believe in
That
you.
had something, but like people were saying it said, oh, they posted it again. Okay. Posted the second link.
Oh god, bless you
Ooh,
guys.
wow, I like this. What did they say again? It was mane and tail. Definitely, Birdie definitely has a very tricky mane. I always struggle really badly with her tail. I've got her mane down, but like tail.
It's like a ribbon.
I love rarity.
But getting that, like,
all of it.
yeah, it's so fun to draw. But like I still like drawing it, but like the tail is just the part I struggle with the most. But let's have a look. Is it going
There
in the
was
draw
a
file?
at BronyCon, on the comic artist panel, someone asked if they had any tips for drawing Rarity's mane, and it was funny because Andy Price just stood up. He's like, you get yourself like a candle, or like a marker, a real big Sharpie or something, and a ribbon, and you just wrap it around. You have Rarity's tail. Like, yeah, it's that easy, folks.
Also set a phone cord. The old.
Oh yeah, and but they won't know what that is.
All right, so top right hand corner, we got a Rarity hanging from a rope.
Now
money.
my little doodle of the pony coming up the side of the picture doesn't make any sense. Oh, whatever.
I would say the definition on your curls is the weakest part, but you agree on that one.
You definitely got a lot of life to the picture. Even like the parts of the mane and tail have like a nice bend to them, but it's just like trying to get this. That's the zoom. I'm trying to rotate like canvas to sideways. There we go. So I don't know if you just drew this like, if you just kept your canvas mostly like in the actual portrait format. But where has my pen gone? When you're trying to do something of the character being upside down or any which direction, you want to rotate so that your character's in the right position as if they were standing upright. At least that's how it's always made sense to me, because your brain can sort of see things differently from different positions, and you can end up easily drawing the character, like drawing proportions wrong and stuff. It looks like you might have done that with the hair, but I don't know your style, so the hair is what you're asking about, though, so I'll assume that like that it's slightly off in some shape or form. I'm just going to sort of do some doodling as to how I think it would work. I don't know if you're trying to like push the fact that it's falling, you look like, oh, it's going to be sort of stretched out this way a bit more, but I feel like with Rarity's mane, it's very like it's very tight. It's wound in a particular way. It's probably styled with gel or whatever. Like it's styled in a particular way that's probably going to hold that that curl. Disagree with me if you want, guys, but I don't know.
Not disagreeing.
Nope.
So I don't think you need to stretch it out quite as far. Although I haven't got reference up just yet. I'll be doing that in a sec. So that's a no.
How do you not always have a Rarity on your wall?
I mean, I do.
I'm sure I do somewhere, but there's a lot of walls and a lot of pictures.
Where are you with your rarity?
I'm working on the tail.
No, I'm joking. I was making a reference to rarity on your wall.
Oh, and I will draw a little thing to the side. Actually, I'll draw a little thing to the side just to sort of give a bit of a reference on how to do like the curls, at least like how I do it. So I like the way you've done it, but I'm not sure if that's just like all you felt like you could do. So just for the sake of reference, you absolutely don't have to follow it if you don't want to. I'll do a little thing, just a little tutorial. This will mostly help if you actually watch as well, but you can use the actual drawing. I'll do it down. I'm actually going to rotate back if I can figure out how. The rotation is so finicky. Okay. So let's see. How do I? Oh, too big. So I'll start with like sort of outlining the first curl. Then like you want to just basically do like spiral going inwards, and then it's just a simple matter of like filling the edges in, and that's like super simple. It sometimes even I'm like I don't know, somehow sometimes I manage to get it wrong, but it's really not such a bad thing once you get the hang of it. Actually, I think I may have done this part. It's not quite right because I just drew the spiral without having it flow in from the hair, but sometimes what keeps happening to my brush? So why is it so pixely? Oh yeah, that's it. So if it's coming down from the actual hair, it'd just be like this. There's a spiral, boom, 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 boom. There's the hair. But of course, there's plenty of different ways of interpreting it because you've got these beautiful curls, lots of lovely shape. So look at what other artists have done. Look at other ways that they've interpreted Rarity's mane, and you can find all sorts of different ways of sort of getting those curls in, or even drawing her in a completely different mane style. Like I've sort of altered her mane a little bit in the way I draw it, which I did in the last picture that I drew, which I'll find for linking. But it's just it seems scary, but don't be scared. There are tricks to everything, and once you get the hang of stuff, then you'll have it down in your muscle memory, and you'll be able to just figure it out. And once you get Rarity's shapes figured out, then she's super fun to draw.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So I do have a question. All what Fluffy Zai said is awesome. So you said she's upside down. Now is she falling or is she hanging? Because to me, she looks like she's falling, and because she's falling, her hair would be going upwards because of gravity. Because it's lighter than her body. Her body will be pulling it down rather than the hair being, hair falling flatter or falling before her. So that's one thing I want to say, because I was gonna mention in the tail area, you got some poop tail going on. It's coming out of her butt rather than.
Done.
It's it's what it is. It's it's not coming from her spinal cord. It's coming from her butt.
She is upside down.
Yes, but is she hanging or is
is she hanging or falling?
She's. It looks like she's hanging because that's what he's like. He should have had the tail falling down since she is upside down.
Yes,
but it's just a matter of motion, because if it's like they are still in the process of falling, then it'll be floating behind them. But if they've just bounced back or like they've just stopped falling, that tail will keep going and it'll shoot back down again. Even if it retains most of its shape, there'll be a point where it's sort of like it'll rest and like just kind of bunch up on itself a bit more. So Ali's saying it's a matter of resting versus force down or force upwards.
Because right now, if she is hanging, we have no sense of that hanging because there is a very limp rope here or ribbon here.
Oh yeah, I just noticed it. The rope definitely makes it look like she's bouncing or still falling.
Yeah, to me, she looks like, okay, so if you want to have her hanging, tense that rope up. That is gonna be, or the ribbon up. That's gonna be the symbol that she is hanging. Because
although, if you I'll just sort of segue on that just real quick. Sorry, if you do it sort of like you want to change your mind, have it tensing. I can just get a pen. There we go. I would have it. It sort of raises an issue because then the pose looks like quite. The center of gravity's off because it's pulling really hard here, but then she's got like the rest of her body. The center of gravity's like here. So you can also fix that by having just it on this side as well. If you wanted to do that, but it looks like you wanted to have a sort of bouncing. The pose makes perfect sense for that, so it's purely just if you want to do what Ali said.
Yeah, because I see this, and she looks like she's mid-fall, about to plummet into a pile of gems. So that's why I see, okay, that makes sense. The tail's going upwards, like even the hair, maybe this front hair can.
They say she is supposed to be like hanging.
But yeah, since she is supposed to be hanging, then yeah, the tail, even still, this connection point, that's still a poop tail connection point. You need to just remember that spinal cord is your friend. It's going to be right above the butt. It's not coming out of the butt, but right above the butt. It's a little thing, but it makes a world of difference. So then you can have her, like, sometimes it's easy to break her tail down into little rectangles. Think about how the ribbon is going to flow and swoosh and curl on itself. And
Yeah, I usually draw like the back part just loosely as I'm sketching as well. It depends how loosely you want to have the sort of drill shape, how loose you want to have the curl. If there's if there's a lot of force pushing the tail, then they're going to be quite drawn apart. They're going to be very loose, sort of pulled apart. Think about if you did have like a phone cord or a spiral of some kind, you were like pulling both ends and stretching it out, ready for it to bounce back. You would have it sort of like that. But then if it was like resting, the things would be much sort of close together. I try to remember how I learned to draw the tail. This shape. It's the shape
like
that I use for like anime hair, like when you have that curl.
It's just a curly Q.
Mm.
So it's like box.
But I can't remember how I did it exactly. That's not very good.
One small thing that I don't think that you guys have touched on is the ear. The back ear shouldn't be there.
Most
Oh
definitely.
yeah, it does look a little bit low down.
So like
it looks like it's coming over the eye, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like
it looks like it's coming out over her eye, like right over her.
I haven't really thought about that. Have the where's my pen? No, that's not a pen. There we go. Just have like a little bit like looking at it. There we go.
Yeah, like you would be able to see her ear, but just not there.
Like right now, it's more like a horn, because it's also in front of her purple hair. So it's like this ear took a journey from back here to like snaking around the front of her ear.
It's actually in front of her horn, so that's kind of like unless you have her almost looking basically directly at you, you should never have the ear in front of a horn like that.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to the next one then?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
We have more?
Yep, we have one more.
So I was just typing. I was typing into the Picato, and it wasn't actually. I was just gonna say because B2W said that they hadn't even thought about the slack in the rope. I would say that if it was that she was just bouncing, then that rope is the perfect shape for having just hit the lowest point and bounced up a little bit. The way it sort of like curls back on itself there is exactly what I think would happen if she was just like bouncing back a bit. So I don't know. You've accidentally done it perfectly for what you're not trying to do.
Welcome to art.
Yeah, that's just something I wanted to comment on anyway. Nice accidental job there.
So this next picture just below that one is by Strato Draw.
Wow.
This grass has some serious detail.
That is, yeah.
It's really cool.
I'm not sure if they used a brush like I do, or if they just did it the self-torturing route.
Well, we can ask them. They're in our chat right now.
Oh, are they? Yay. They'll answer in like 30 seconds, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally. So, first thing that I'm gonna say is you have like a lot of detail on the grass, and it looks really pretty, and it looks really good. And then you have a lot of detail on her hair, and it looks really pretty, and it looks really good. And then on her body, there's nothing.
Well, the thing is that the tricky thing with ponies is their bodies are very blank. The only thing you can really do is add like clothes.
I would add some fluff, like get some.
You can add little bits here and there.
Get some just little details in there, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have. Oh, okay, thank you, Pencil Case.
I'll leave it to her. I'll leave it to her. She's
so he can fluff you out there for you. But so like what you don't want to have is you don't want to have like all of this detail going on and then like just like kind of flat looking.
Yeah, that's always something I'm very conscious of when I'm doing. Go away, pen. When I'm doing something that's very like high detail like this, it's crap. How do I do this so that like the body doesn't look super under detailed next to everything else?
Yeah,
it's a very good point. Just quickly, can I just say I really like how the grass is like bending around, like she's like flattened a bunch of it,
Mhm.
and it's even like a trail where she's coming in. That's really cool because like whenever I'm doing grass, I try to be like, oh yeah, the grass should be bent under here, and I try to do something, but it never looks very good. This, like, the grass has weight, and you can see that it like pushes and the light like goes off of it, and that is really nice there. I love that little pit of
No,
grass.
this is like seriously beautiful.
Mm.
It like I'm nitpicking right now.
So if there is something that's bugging me about the grass though, and it's how you've built it up. So you've done a bunch of brush strokes, but there's not actually that much contrast difference between any of the brush strokes. And it's very understandable why, because who the heck wants to go through that scroll wheel and just keep changing up the hue and the contrast as we go, blah 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 blah. Have to keep altering. The problem with that is that's how you make grass look more grass-like. Right now we're getting this big wall of brush strokes. So this is the same as this, is the same as this, is the same as this. That doesn't hold true to what looking closer at grass is going to be like. If you want to add more definition and more depth to what's going on here, vary up that grass. So when we choose this color right here, whoop, 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 control, yes, control, thank you. We do, a few strokes, and then we're going to vary that up, and we're going to layer it up. We're going to layer it up.
It can get annoying, especially because you're not really going to be able to choose the same colors again, and getting like choosing it naturally to a consistent level can be very difficult, and you basically got to do that across the entire picture wherever there is grass. So like it's like you have to do like a whole layer and then change it slightly and do a whole another layer and do that again and again, basically every single time that LD is changing the brush color. Right now it's like you'd have to do that for the whole picture.
Not other layer, just keep layering it on top, not with physical layers, like the actual
not physical layers, but like, you know what I mean, like every time you change the grass you're adding another layer of color. Essentially you're like going over it again and again, and it can get a lot when there's like a lot of grass. The only thing is, while there's absolutely nothing, it's perfectly good if you want to like do the strokes yourself, because you're putting the effort in and like it's natural when you're doing these strokes. There's also nothing wrong with using a grass brush, because brushes are just tools, and it's up to us to use them however we like. So if you found, like, I basically do my grass with a brush, and I just like I'll define the basic layer. Usually it's just like a green blob, and then I'll do like a grassy edge around the edge. But then like I'll go over and like I'll slightly darken it with every layer that I go, and then like I'll do like a lighter layer, then I'll redarken again. But I'll sort of increase the size and change the color towards one direction, whether it's lighter or darker, as I go towards the front of the picture, and then it creates like a really nice like blend of size and of color. So you really get that perspective in two ways there. I'll try to find an example, because I know I've done some, and maybe I can shove it in the picture quickly.
Pencil case, you can't fluff the pony before we're done critiquing it.
No, this is part of the critique.
This is part of the critique, to give the pony some texture.
Give the pony some texture so that
performing her duty.
Okay. So
like we just needed her early.
So the proper way to do that layering method that I was just doing up here is you work from the back, so over here, and we're gonna move it all the way down to here.
That's what I do as well.
And it really helps if you just keep moving down on your image, because it's going to add a nice layer effect as it goes back. It sort of covers up all the duplicate brush strokes, so you really only have to pay attention to the close ones.
And it's not going to be very easy to like go behind what you've already drawn unless you do make a physical new layer and put it underneath, and you don't want to be doing that constantly because it's not very nice.
Yeah, do use some layers so you can modify, just minor changes, but anyway. God, I love this. Do watch how... No?
Oh, goodness.
What?
There is something that's bothering me about Twilight's expression, though. You've put so much detail in here. Man, if we're to get that reflection of that... Oh, come on. Come on, brushes. Let's do this.
Here's a picture. The definition and contrast between colors I use deliberately light, but you can see how it sort of like bends and creates this layered effect. But that was like a very particularly gentle like gradient there. There's another one I have though where I I think I put even more definition to it, if I'm not mistaken. But there's like, that's like a good. Yeah, I have another example there, but it's I just basically use a brush for that I got on DeviantArt, and there are brushes all over the place for whatever program you use, and just find what works well for you. I think because there's some super awesome things that people have put a lot of effort into making and can let you do some pretty amazing stuff.
And I think despite like what everyone has said, it's all valid, but I'm gonna bring up one other side of things. Sometimes less is more. You don't need to draw every blade of grass in a field to make it look like a field of grass. And I think that's often forgotten. Like, you know, we always point to Calvin and Hobbes, but that's definitely a more cartoony style. But if we look at, you know, I know I'm going to keep saying his name wrong, but if we look at, like, what is his name? Does anyone know who I'm talking about?
I don't, sorry.
No idea.
Lunarix would know, but he's at work still. Dang it.
Oh no.
Really, really beautiful landscape art. You know, look at Viras Duper. Look at
Miyazaki.
Yeah, Miyazaki. Look at even old oil painters, classical art. Look at all this stuff because a lot of it is texture. A lot of art is tricking the mind to believe something's there that's not.
But I think
it's the overall versus I need every last detail. You know,
it's very much a balancing act because for more basically it's like every time you add super amounts of detail on something, you need to add super amounts of detail on everything else. Or you can have it very light and cartoonishly and very simplistic and minimalistic, or you can go middle ground and do things like, okay, so like I've got a little bit of detail on this pony, but not a huge amount. How do I do this ground without overpowering with detail? Well, you can just do bits of grass here, bits of grass there, or like a few little stones on the path, and just to show that there's detail there. And like Ali said, the mind is tricked then to say, oh, this is a path and it's covered in stones, or this is a grassy field. And I mean, I'm sure that when you're starting out, you've done that, like draw little M shapes all over the ground, you know, and that like shows there's the grass there. That's basically it. Like sometimes you can just add bits of detail. Obviously for this piece you've gone like full detail, so that it's irrelevant. But for other pictures you can just sort of go middle way if you want.
Yeah, and like I think honestly, what I know, using what I know, I feel like doing this for this type of picture is not benefiting the picture at all. Like we completely lose the pony you know, in the grass. There's so much grass going on. It's not really necessary, and I'm sure you work so hard, and this is a lesson learned. In my opinion, this is definitely a lesson learned, and I found the artist, thank God. Shemingal. But yeah.
I think if you wanted to like try and I think what makes the grass stand out is because you have such a beautiful array of different colors. So I think the picture that I put in briefly, it does sort of like, you could see that the grass was there and that it had detail, but it didn't jump out. It wasn't the main focus of the picture, and that's because I used a very light, like only a few different tones of green, and I would change it a little bit as I came into the foreground, and it didn't have very much detail to it, but while still having detail. So that's like having that sort of lapse of contrast between the colors can help it to have that detail without like, so you're not taking it away, but you're not like drowning out the rest of the picture either. This other picture I've drawn, I found another example of me using grass, and I put like a lot of different colors there, and you can see that the grass stands out a lot more. Like it takes up a lot more of the viewpoint of the picture because there's more contrast and different tones of greens and whatnot, and it sticks out, and it's got like a shadow, and you know, there's more stuff putting it there in the picture to what I shared previously. But it's up to you finding that balance, whether you want to have like a nice detailed mess of different greens, or whether you want to have that like gradient changing in tone slightly as it comes towards the foreground, as I showed before. Just try out different styles and look at how other people do it, and you can find that balance, however much you want it to stand out, you know?
I'm all. It's a really pretty picture.
It is very.
And I've been listening to you guys, but at the same time, I've been watching what Q Pencil Case has been doing to all the pictures, and I'm dying laughing over here.
This is what she does. She's our resident fluffer.
She fluffed the question mark.
Well, I like what she did to the Twilight shit. She made that fluff look like it's in place.
Yes.
But yeah, it's super amazing work. I love like you got like the blur in the background fading into the foreground. It just everything in the picture looks so beautiful. You got this lovely perspective and everything full. You've even got Twilight in a good like rule of thirds place, but she's slightly to the right. Like everything is really good composition. The way the color and light blends from one side of the picture to the other. The way the shadows are cast. Just everything is absolutely gorgeous. So great job, and absolutely just keep it up and keep making amazing stuff.
I think
Alright.
we're all good.
I think we're out of art.
Yeah.
So, as we said before, we'll see you all next week. And if you have any questions, feel free to fire them at us for next week. And same as critique, just throw art at us. We believe
Out
in
of
you.
the cannon.
And
Yes.
face.
So long.